I saw a very lovely breakfast setup out there, great demo sessions. I expected a lot more energy on day 3. Good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for keeping time. We'll be starting in about 5 minutes. But what I would like to start with is to ask you to please occupy the seat in front of you. If there's a seat in front of you, it's an opportunity for you to pick someone who you did not sit with on day 1 or day 2, get to know them. By now, we should be on first name basis. If you do not know the first name of the person you choose to sit next to, you've not done justice to the 4 days we're supposed to be spending together. So I would like to request you to please occupy the seats in front of you, but also to try and have some people move on this side. If the protocol team could guide you to maybe a better place to sit if you're not sure of where to go. Protocol for those who are just coming in, let's have more people occupy this side of the room. I still see you seated so comfortably. The sooner you move closer to me, the sooner we begin. We have an amazing, incredible morning that we have prepared for you, and would like to get into that as soon as possible. I see this part of the room, so many empty seats, gorgeous faces, beautiful smiles that are waiting for you to join them. We'll leave the seats at the back for those who don't keep time. This is my bribing face. This is my bribing smile. Could you please try and find a seat that is in front of you? We'll be beginning in about 2 minutes. In the meantime, for those of you who would like translation, we have equipment to assist you. Channel 1 is for English, channel 2 is for French. And if you do not have the device, you can always put your hand up. We have an amazing protocol team. They will walk over to you and make sure you are sorted. Those just coming in, would like for you to occupy this part of the room. All right, with that, I'd like to call the room to order. Request those who are still standing to take your seats. We'll begin in a second. Good morning, esteemed guests. Good morning once again, and welcome to day 3. Now, I know the past 2 days we got the context. We had very insightful conversations that provided solutions that we need to prioritize moving forward. But more importantly, we also had some commitments. Now, yesterday, there were powerful stories that were told on this stage, experiences that were shared, but also powerful words that I feel still echo in these halls. The former president, Goodluck Jonathan, reminded us that we need to ensure young people are brought into the conversation to improve agriculture. Now, I know some of you were able to see the incredible innovations and what they have to add. Earlier on today, we had a number of demo sessions going on. We'll also be having more later in the afternoon, and I urge you to join those. We also had Rwanda's Prime Minister echo the words that agriculture must be made sustainable, but also attractive for young people. That seems to have been a sing-along yesterday, but maybe something that really stood out for me, because innovations can only be innovations if they are not funded, they can't go far. The words of Equity Bank Rwanda's managing director, who said that agriculture is something that they are ready to fund. The money is available and they are ready to give it for as long as we can manage the risk. A commitment of 30% of funding. That was quite something to note, and that will go so far when it comes to what can be done. But perhaps the most important words that were spoken yesterday came from one of the panelists that really stayed with me, and that is the need for farmers who are saying we don't want handouts, that they need to be heard. They need to be part of the conversation as business owners. And those are words that we hope that this session will take into action. Today, we'll turn those words into something that we can tangibly look back on next year, hopefully when we meet, and say that we were able to do something about. Our focus will be on the last mile delivery, getting transformative agtech solutions into the hands of farmers across the continent. And I say this because I believe innovation can, if it doesn't reach the farmers or the farm, well, we cannot see change, or we cannot change the future. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Isabel Masozera. I am the founder, Masozera Africa. I am deeply honored to be your moderator for this session. And to help us kick off the session, we do have opening remarks. We have a keynote that will be coming shortly. But I feel like the energy in the room is not right for me to be able to call up anybody on the stage. So I'm going to ask us to do something. We're going to just get up on our feet. You're going to give me 30 seconds. We're going to get up on our feet. We are going to turn to the person on your right. On your right. I know those of you who did not do well in school. It is obvious. I said on the right, and what we're going to do is we are going to tell them an action word, all right? So we're going to mention an action word. I see those of you who failed listening to instructions. An action word. What is an action word? An action word can be listening, pivoting. It can be scaling. It can be anything, the action that you want to see as we move forward. The last 2 days, a lot has been shared. This is the opportunity for us to find out if some of you have been listening or the people up here have been talking at you. All right? So the person on your right, give them one word that sums up your takeaway so far. Let's make it good. No one is coming to me. There's no one on my right or left. All right. That sounds like more than one word. Let us take our seats. A little later on, perhaps I'll find out from some of you what those action words are. Thank you so much. Now the energy is back. All right. I hope we can feel it as you show love to the speakers that will be taking stage today. Now, to set the stage with real innovation into action, we will be beginning with a spotlight on climate smart technology reshaping rice farming across Africa. This is something I've been looking forward to watch in action right now. Please put your hands together for Dr. Kayode Sani, who is the project manager and director of the Alliance for Hybrid Rice in Africa at AATF. I would like to hear a round of applause. He will showcase a climate-smart remote sensing project in the rice value chain, proof that the future is already sprouting from the ground up. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Isabel, and I'm glad to be here. His Excellency, the former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and the Goodwill Ambassador to ATF, Dr. Goodluck Abele Jonathan, the Honorable Minister for Agriculture, the Federal Republic of Rwanda, Dr. Mark, the Permanent Secretary, Minagri, Rwanda, Dr. Oliver Kamana, ATF Board Chair, Professor Hambali, ATF Chief Executive, Dr. Kanangire Kanesius, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, everybody. I need to hear your response. I think the energy is back in the house. Good morning, everybody. I want to start by asking you a question. I'm supposed to present, but you're going to talk back to me. How many of us have thought or know the contribution of Africa to greenhouse gas emission globally? And what is the proportion or the percentage of the population of Africa on the globe? To start with my presentation, I would like you to understand that Africa accounts for less than 4% of the global greenhouse emission, not putting into account the population, which is over 17% of the global population. This says that there's an imbalance in the climate change effect on Africa relative to the population. And when you look at what Africa contributes to the carbon dioxide emission, it is actually less than 4%. And it's so, it's about 1.04 metric ton per annum, less than a quarter of what the global carbon dioxide emission is, which stands at about over 4 metric tons per annum. And when you look at the impact and the effect of this emission on Africa, it's affecting over 100 million people through different hazards that is happening. And this accounts for over $8.5 billion economic damage to the continent. Is that proportionate? And why is this like that? It's because Africa has a population, large population, but less agrometeorological information that could actually address and help mitigate or adapt the farmers to what this impact can be. Considering the fact that a lot of African farmers depend on rain-fed agriculture, and the impact of weather is greater and higher on people that depend on rain-fed agriculture. You look at the map we have there on the screen. You can see how much the agrometeorological weather stations are centered in Europe and other parts of the world. Look at how sparsely it is distributed in Africa. If you look at what Michigan State University is doing in Michigan State, just in the environment of apple growers around Michigan State University, they have over 100 weather stations which help them to be able to gather a lot of data. So this is a call for thought, and this made AATF, Michigan State University, and other made smart agriculture, which can make us to adapt to every impact of climate change on the continent and on our farmers. And this tool is able to give you real-time information which can be monitored 24/7, and you can actually have a temperature accuracy of plus or minus 0.1, which is less than the 0.3 impact that it has, and is a durable technology. And the result of this is going to be that it's going to help us, guide us in advising on the kind of input and the level of input that is needed at this smallholder farmers level, and also give advice on crop protection, considering the spread of different new disease as a result of climate change, and also give advice on irrigation management, which is very important. It's able to help you see how farmers can know when to apply water, when to withhold water, and help to manage the distribution of this water. What is going to be the end result? Productivity is going to go up. This is not moving. Okay, this project is not a project of bringing the information to the farmers. It started from the farmers. And 70% of farmers in Africa falls into the category of the farmers we are looking into. The micro, small, and medium entrepreneurs in the rice value chain is what this project is targeted at. And we started by assessing and evaluating what are the information that they need that can guide and help them in making right decisions that will help them to improve their productivity and enhance their livelihood. And this data can actually guide them in making decisions relative to what they need. And it's deploying AI technology. We have a ground truthing sensor, which helps us to evaluate the soil moisture content, which is important in guiding the irrigation management and the need for water, and help you to address the weather prediction that this tool can give. The other part of it is the installation of the modern weather tools. In this project, we targeted installing just 6 weather tools, 3 in Nigeria and 3 in Kenya. But when we developed this tool, it came to some government agencies in Nigeria, and the governors of Adamawa and Kwara State developed interest, and they supported us to install some in their states. And also Sahel Consult supported the deployment of this tool. So instead of just 6, because of the scalability of this technology, we have already installed 20 across Nigeria and Kenya. Permit me to tell you how this tool works. As you're looking on the board, those are where we have installed the tool, and this tool has the capacity to generate real-time data every 2 minutes, 120 seconds. And we have 1,400 minutes in a day. So it shows that each day, each of these stations is generating 720 data points for each parameter. And we are talking of over 20 parameters. So within the last 1 month, when we installed this tool, we have been able to generate over 9 million data points. Actually, about 10 million data points. If we look in the practicality of it, considering what we have generated, which is about 10 million data points, we are estimating with those 20 weather stations to generate 120 million data points. So that tells us the problem is not generation of the information and the data in Africa. The problem is the infrastructure to generate this data available. It shows with what we have proven in the last 1 month, if the infrastructure is available, we are able to generate enormous and big data. Now consider if we have 1,000 weather stations across Africa. It shows per year we will be generating tens of billions of data yearly. And that is going to guide. This data generation is not just enough. It is important that we look at the the kind of business model that is going to make this sustainable, which will not just be basically on project, but it's going to be sustainably deployed and conveniently used by the farmer. So certain consideration needs to be looked into. The installation we have done is just about 10% of the achievement. The 90% is about creating the impact. And it's very important that we look at what that is going to create for us. The first is that the consumer have to be actively involved. You have to communicate what is the value proposition of this technology, and you have to put the value at the center and at the front of your communication so that farmers can have access to it. Number two, you have to speak the language that the farmers understand. You need to translate whatever information you are speaking to the language, to the method in which the farmers can understand it. And that is important to make it happen. Also, it's important that you create a kind of network that is going to make this to be sustainable by establishing a kind of business system around it that can enhance the commercialization. And we have learned that this system will not be sustainable without money for, support for some maintenance. And this is very important, and this is what has killed a lot of other weather stations that have been installed before now. Because this is modern, it is easy to move this forward. And it shows that installing the weather station alone is not just enough, but the commercialization, the business model, the deployment pathway, how you communicate it, showcasing the value. A good example is it's not just enough to tell the farmer that it's not going to rain at so time. You need to tell them, and so what when it doesn't rain? You need to be able to tell them how will they adopt their system to that. If it doesn't rain in 2 days, you need to apply water. If it doesn't rain at so time because of your soil type, you need to do this. That is very important. And we need to scale this up across Africa. We are calling for your support, the support of different state government, presidents around in, and every other investors. And this project have been managed by ATF and been financed by Gates Foundation through the Grand Challenge project. And I would like to appreciate our partners, Benue State University, who is doing the practical work on the ground, and also the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, the Gombe State government, the Cereal Growers Association of Kenya, and Michigan State University, who has helped us in adapting this technology for use in Africa. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Sani. Could we please appreciate him once more with another round of applause? A lot he unpacked, but what stood with me, I'm a communicator, so I understand the power of communication. We need to communicate to farmers in a way that they understand. And he also adds that we need to build systems that are sustainable. Well, ladies and gentlemen, now to officially open our session and help us connect the dots between AgTech and human development outcomes, we are privileged to hear from a champion who is working at the intersection of education and nutrition. Please, with another round of applause for our second speaker this morning, help me welcome Mr. Sam Ingabire. He is the National Coordinator of Rwanda's Homegrown School Feeding Project at the Ministry of Education. Mr. Ingabire, the floor is yours.
Good morning. Yes, my name is Sam Ingabire. I work with Ministry of Education. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very much honored to share with you the journey of Rwanda to advance the National School Feeding Program and its connectivity to agriculture and nutrition. The government of Rwanda has been implementing the school feeding program since 2014, But when the government saw its importance, in 2019 approved the National School Feeding Policy. The National School Feeding Policy directed scaling up of the National School Feeding Program from pre-primary to entire secondary education. When the government scaled up, school feeding was only benefiting secondary day students, but when it scaled up, it benefited every student in Rwanda in education. In 2021, when the policy was approved, the school feeding program was targeting only 3.3 million who were in school by then, and the government had several challenges of school dropout. There was issues of malnutrition. There was issues of connecting farmers to school meals. And so when the government, after the scale up of the National School Feeding Program in 2021, the government saw its importance. And therefore, different interministerial policies were developed to ensure that there is good alignment and implementation of the program. This includes the National School Feeding Policy, the Education Sector Strategic Plan, the National Strategy for Transformation, the Ministry of Agriculture, PSTA5, the Nutrition Policy, among other policies. So, since the scale-up, the government has registered tremendous success. Can you imagine? Since 2021 October, the number of students have scaled up from 3.3, we are now on 4.5 million students. Can you imagine that increase? And since then, as the number of students increase, government investments kept on improving. When the government started, the government funding was around 6 billion. But when we scaled up, it came to 73 billion. 2023, 2024, it was 78 billion. 24-25, 94 billion Rwandan francs. 25-26, it came to 135 billion Rwandan francs, government funding. How is this program being implemented? There is complementary approach where the government provides long shelf food items and the parents are involved, parents and local farmers are involved in supporting school feeding program with perishable food items. So, that's the trajectory journey of the National School Feeding Program. Now we are on ensuring its sustainability. How can the government ensure that there is sustainable National School Feeding Program and the continuous provision of nutritious meals? We are working with different stakeholders, government ministries, institutions, and development partners to ensure that school meals are improved. Now there is proper use of school land and government land existing, given that partners are supporting like CIAT and other World Food Program, they are supporting the government to ensure that we get the nutritious, high-yielding quality meals. Students get nutritious quality meals. And also, for instance, I give you one example, that this agricultural technology solutions works. We piloted at one school. We gave them high-yielding iron-fortified beans. We gave them 500 grams on a small plot, and the harvest was 40 kilograms. In this harvest, we gave 10 schools over 50 kilograms, and the harvest was almost 2.5 kilograms. So if we keep on ensuring that there is technological advancement in agriculture at school level, these best practices done at school level will be transferred to the community because parents are involved in managing the school gardens, and therefore smallholder farmers, farmer cooperatives will provide adequate, nutritious school meals. If I come to the aspect, you may ask yourself, how is the procurement done? How is the procurement of school meals managed? The government of Rwanda, through central government, is piloting different models. Initially, we started with the district level procurement approach of procuring long shelf food items, including rice, maize, flour, beans, and cooking oil. But we saw some gaps. To ensure that there is cost efficiency and cost saving, the government is now trying the centralized approach. The centralized approach has proved so effective that all food items, like, for example, rice, that were scattered in different farmer cooperatives are now mobilized, are now collected by one supplier, transported to districts, and then from districts to schools. We are now very sure that school meals are of adequate quality. That's where the government is trying to take the school feeding program. And more also, to ensure that students eat nutritious quality meals, the government, through Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Education, the researchers, we are trying to improve quality seeds, high-yielding, high-nutritious quality seeds, like beans, as I said, amaranth, and other kinds of vegetables. I'll talk about the management. How is the school feeding program managed? At the national level, school feeding is led by the Ministry of Education. So there is the National School Feeding Steering Committee that coordinates all the stakeholders. Then from the ministry, it is decentralized. No, from the ministry level, it is co-chaired by the Ministry of Agriculture, then development partners, then to the districts, then to the sectors, and to schools. There is, at the same time, at the ministry level, there is the School Feeding Technical Working Group Committee. This committee is responsible for daily operations to ensure that there is adequate, there are innovations in this program. It's quite big. Previously, we thought that it was like provision, seeing a meal on a plate, but later we discovered that there are some other aspects that are needed. For example, if I go to the challenges, the major challenge we have now is the cooking energy. The cooking energy, when the government scaled up, there was construction of kitchens and the provision of cooking stoves. But now we discovered that there is this issue of cooking energy where schools are using much firewood. So the government is trying to ensure that, they have asked me to be brief. So the government is trying to ensure that there is this interconnected approach of using energy cooking stoves, and smart cooking, and the clean cooking. Thank you so much. I'm around. If you need more clarification on the National School Feeding Program, however, this program, I wish it could be scaled up to across Africa, basing on the successes and the advantages we have seen. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I know we are running out of time, but he has unpacked quite a lot. I know Rwanda is the home of homegrown solutions, and I've seen firsthand what has happened in our nation, and we hope to see this adopted across Africa. Could we appreciate him once more? Now, before we proceed, I'd like to recognize the presence of an incredible man who has been with us. I saw him here yesterday. I did quote him earlier today, and he is with us this morning. Please, could you appreciate the presence of former President of Nigeria, His Excellency Goodluck Jonathan. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time. All right, now the floor will be going to our keynote speaker. They bring the corporate and science worlds together to support sustainable food systems. She is a fierce advocate for equitable access to innovation and a champion for sustainable value chains. Please, with a warm round of applause, I love that gender balance that is taking place. Ms. Mildred Nada Peter, who is the head of public affairs, science, and sustainability at Bayer. The stage is yours. We will keep it a bit brief. We are running way out of time.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning to all. Your Excellency, President Goodluck Jonathan, it's a pleasure to see you here. Allow me to stand on existing protocols. I want to thank sincerely the organizers of ACAT for this honor to be able to speak with you today, to share some thoughts. It is great because we are a gathering of people who, I believe, share a deep commitment to the shaping of the future of agriculture on this beautiful continent. At Bayer, we believe that every farmer deserves access to the tools, to the knowledge, to the technologies they need to be able to thrive. And yet, too often, especially for smallholder farmers, the access is limited. How we get these innovations that we have talked about in the last 2 days to the very last mile has proven to be challenging over and over again. But maybe today I'll walk you through some of the things that we do as a company, Bayer, to overcome the hurdles in reaching the last mile on the continent. We have identified a couple of pathways. One is in local production of seeds, or even to some extent inputs in general. How we empower communities. It's important that the work we do must go hand in hand with the communities that we serve. And in doing that, we build partnerships that make these impacts sustainable over time. Let's start with the big picture. I'm probably preaching to the converted, but we know that agriculture is key for Africa. More than 60% in some of our countries, the GDP of our countries, over 60% depends on agriculture. Agriculture employs more than 50% of our population. And yet, we're a continent that is still spending an average of $110 billion annually in importing food. And food security remains widespread. The productivity of our land and labor is still below global averages. The reasons are familiar perhaps to you. limited access to quality seeds and innovations, fertilizers. We have fragmented trade policies that are not perhaps also allowing us to capture the potential we have across the continent. We have challenges with infrastructure. We do have infrastructure deficits on the continent. And of course, even policies around land tenure, who owns land, who can access land. And of course, we would layer on that the climate shocks that we see on the continent. Smallholder farmers are responsible for a little over 80% of the food that we consume on the continent. And so it is critical that these growers are given the right tools and the capabilities to be able to increase productivity. Africa holds over 50. In some data, you would see 60% of available arable land. How are we using that to ensure that we feed this continent and beyond? I mentioned some of the pathways that we have looked at over time as a company, which is anchored in our mission, health for all, hunger for none. It sounds simple, but very bold. The mission can only work if we ensure that we are reaching the very last mile. The smallholder grower, the woman, the young person, woman or boy, girl, the smallholder farmers across the continent. So we don't only see our interaction on the continent as just selling seeds, but we see it as being transformative in how we bring in ecosystems in solving for some of the challenges we have. Recently, we opened a state-of-the-art seed processing site out of Zambia. It was a $35 million investment in ensuring that we bring hybrid seeds closer. So the target is to ensure that we do local production. In regions where we cannot, we ensure that we scale. This site is going to be able to produce about 70,000 metric tons of corn seeds by 2030, ensuring that we are reaching millions and millions of smallholder farmers across the continent. Again, why corn? Corn has been identified even by the African Union as a critical crop that can solve for food security issues across the continent. In bringing that investment, we build economic opportunities because we work with, across sub-Saharan Africa, over 350 local seed growers. We're employing hundreds and hundreds of workers. We're empowering smallholder businesses, whether it's in transportation, in warehousing, in even processing in some sites and in some countries. And just as importantly, we ensure that the technologies that we bring are cognizant of the climate shocks. So drought-resistant varieties, ensuring that farmers are not shortchanged across the country. So this investment, like I said, is not only about building a factory, it's about self-sufficiency, it's about resilience, it's about food security. We also understand that we can't solve for these problems alone and the need to build partnerships that would make this impact sustainable over time. A good example is the Better Life Farming platform that we have launched, not only in Africa, but also in Asia. What this does is brings together like-minded partners, whether it's in the fertilizer value chain, insurance, microcredit, other input providers, together in one place, so that the farmer can access everything that they need at the last mile. So these centers are not city-based, they're actually rural-based, with local community members taking it up as business opportunities to be able to serve their communities and serve them better. So, in a nutshell, perhaps if I would say any message that I would leave with you today, it's the need that we must work together. We must harmonize regulations across borders. The Africa Free Continental Trade Agreement should be active and live. It will help our farmers. We must create the right enabling policies that would allow for incentivizing local production, but also for growers for farmers alike. We want to see local, 90% of our inputs going into the market will be produced locally, but we can't do it alone, like I said. We need governments to support with the infrastructure and the regulatory environment. We need the investors and innovators to co-create value. We want to see young people thrive in how they solve for some of these challenges. We want to see the role of academics and researchers in developing the specific solutions that Africa needs. And most importantly, we must make farmers the center of every solution. We must make farmers the center of every discussions that we have, because they understand what they need, I think, even much better than we do. In closing, allow me to reiterate some outcomes we had a couple of years ago. We convened a couple of African farmers at the Vatican at a round table, just to share, not only with the Vatican, but also with FAO, and the DG and the members of the FAO leadership were there. The message was clear from farmers. We want outcome-driven policies that prioritize improved productivity. Farmers want improved productivity. They want to see their livelihoods improve. They want to see environmental stewardship. Food safety and nutrition is also key. Technology-neutral approaches. Let's give farmers the opportunity to choose. Let's give them a toolbox that allows them to choose what they want and what they understand to be best for them. And of course, it has to be evidence-based approaches that empower farmers so that the full range of their potential can be unleashed. If you would remember something today, please remember this. Listen to our farmers. Create enabling policies. I will repeat that over and over again, and give them the tools and the agencies to lead Africa's shift towards a sustainable, resilient, and productive agriculture. We often speak of Africa's agriculture future as if it's far off, but it's already taking shape, with countless of you in this room working to see that happen, from the fields of Zambia to Rwanda, to the research centers in Kenya, Nigeria, across this continent. Through partnering, leveraging on our strength in ensuring that we deliver for farmers. What we need now is an alignment of policy, of investment, and of purpose. At Bayer, we're ready to do our part. Let's make sure that no farmer is left behind and that we reach every last mile that is needed on this continent. Thank you.
You know what I'm going to say. Another round of applause, please. Thank you so much for setting the tone for our next session, which is a panel discussion. We are rolling our sleeves for our first panel today that is going to be focusing on building robust partnership for sustainable scaling of agtech solutions. Yes, and that is because we believe behind every successful innovation, there's a web of collaboration between the private sector, the public sector, the NGOs, and we're seeing many of you represented today, innovators, and most importantly, knowledge and lived experiences. I would like to call to the stage my panelists, starting with the CEO of East Africa Agro Limited, a gentleman that is connecting farmers to markets through digital and data-driven tools, Mr. Shavda Trifonov. I hope I pronounced your name right. Spent a significant part of the morning trying to get that right. Welcome to the stage. He's not alone today. He's joined by Professor Karimbai Maridia, who is the Director of International Programs at Michigan State University, an authority on South-South partnership and technology transfer. They are not alone. Also joining them is Mr. Moma Dieng, who is a Dean of African Leadership at University School of Business, a prominent advocate for innovative leadership and entrepreneurship development across our continent. And last but not least, Dr. Eliud Birachi, who is the project leader and market economist at Pan-African Bean Research Alliance. Welcome to the stage. He's spearheading inclusive market systems and resilient bean value chains across Africa. Now, as they take their seats, I want to call on you to be present. I've been seeing some of you on your phones. Yes, I want you to be present. They will not be talking at us. They will be talking with us and sharing their experience. Gentlemen, now I know our time is fast spent, so we'll try to keep it brief and straight to the point. I'd like to start with you, Mr. Shabda. Now, I know that the East Africa Agro Limited has a strong focus on connecting farmers, as I said when introducing you, and leveraging technology within the agricultural value chain. I want you to help us unpack, and I know we have to go forward prioritizing. We don't have all day and we can't do this conversation justice, but if you could pinpoint 1, 2, 3 key strategies for scaling agtech commercialization and sustainably benefiting our smallholder farmers, but also honing in on other marginalized communities. What are those strategies that Africa should be focusing on?
Is it on? Yes. Yes. Okay, thank you, the organizers, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be in this panel. And thank you for this, I would say, $1 billion question. As the previous speaker said, 80% of the food on this continent is produced by the smallholder farmers, and those farms employ 60 to 70% of the workforce. So enabling them, giving them and reaching them commercializing the agro-technology is vital for productivity, for economic growth, for food security, and it's a great business opportunities for everybody involved in agro-technology. So, what is the way for successful commercializing? I would say a winning combination between a couple of factors. Of course, ready technology, market alignment, stakeholder engagement, and enabling infrastructure. Yeah, it sounds somehow vague, but there, as per our opinion, there are 6 critical elements which can help those agro-technological companies really to strive and to approach and reach smallholder farmers. Of course, the first one is the farmer-focused design of the product. As every product, we must know our market, we must know our clients. So if we want to reach the smallholders, we must get good idea of all the limitations under which they work. In many cases, there is a lack of digital or agronomical literacy. So we should provide products which are easy to use, intuitive to implement, which can bring value, and of course, which are cost-effective and doesn't require a lot of training and infrastructure. The second critical element is to demonstrate the value proposition. All these products are here to help farmers mitigate the risk, to better manage climate, pests, diseases, market volatility, post-harvest, all of this. So we need to show clear improvement and benefits when they implement this. We should increase yield, we should increase income, improve efficiency. And of course, all of this has to be seen maximum in a season or a year. Farmers has to see tangible benefits in order to be a returning clients, in order to have a broader reach to their fellow farmers as well. The third critical element, as per our opinion, is the scalable, flexible business model and good distribution network. probably the first question which you will be asked by a farmer for any technology is how much it costs and how do you expect me to pay for it. So all these pay-as-you-go structures, subscription structures, they are enabling to lower or to eliminate some of the entry barriers and improve the technology penetration in the market. We can try to combine the technology and to bundle it with additional services like insurance, credit, advisory, thus bringing more value and more utility from any of the technologies which we want to market. Of course, the last mile access to the farmers is difficult, especially with the smallholders. So it is much better to use established local networks, trusty local networks through which to go to the market and try to distribute. Instead of going from a farmer to farmer, we can leverage on the NGOs, agribusinesses, cooperatives, government. And in order to reach those farmers, especially the smallholders, yes, the digital distribution platforms are fancy, they're cheap and easy to operate, but for real-world effect, with the smallholders, you need in-field presence. So you must ensure that you have a good team which is there and helping and working with them. I'll try to be as short as possible,
Yes.
but okay, then the next big one for us is the data and connectivity infrastructure. You have to bear it in mind. Farmers don't operate here downtown. Usually they farm in detached rural areas where there is no electricity, there is a poor internet or mobile connection. So your products, your technology should be off-grid and offline capable, should be able to use low bandwidth connectivity and all of this in order to be able to penetrate the market. And I would say last but not least is the policy and institutional support. By working together with the government, you get trustability and credibility for all those smallholder farmers. And if you use and work together with public extension services, you have a much broader reach. So if somebody can identify and answer all these critical elements, yes, I believe he can put a real actionable strategy and go and try the smallholder farmers, try to penetrate this market.
Yes, and that is the goal indeed. Thank you so much. I'd like to move on to you, Professor. How can stakeholders leverage South-South and North-South partnerships when it comes to facilitating mutually beneficial technology transfer and agribusiness opportunities that are appropriate, and keyword here being appropriate, to Africa?
Thank you very much, Isabella. First of all, I would like to thank African Agriculture Technology Foundation for inviting us to this ACAT2025 conference. Michigan State University, we are represented here by Professor
if
George
we could have
Smith.
the microphone a little closer to you. So
we are represented here by Professor George Smith, Dr. Daniel Uhe, and myself. So Michigan State University, those of you who are not familiar, we are a public land-grant university. We were founded in 1855. As a university, our motto is very simple: advancing knowledge and transforming lives. We have a threefold mission. We do research, we provide education and training, and also extension and outreach. Our outreach programs are globally. I'm in the College of Agriculture and Natural Resources. Currently, we are engaged with 88 countries around the world, including a number of countries here in Africa. I think for the last 2 days, we have been hearing about partnerships and collaborations. This morning also, repeatedly, it was mentioned. So partnerships are critical for technology transfer programs to be successful. So Michigan State University, we are actively engaged in building what we call global knowledge partnerships. And one of the unique approach that we take in building these global knowledge partnerships is through South-South collaborations and North-South collaborations. Here in Africa, we actively collaborate with a number of institutions. We are a knowledge partner with African Union Development Agency, AYUDA, NEPAD. We work with the African Academy of Sciences. We work with the Africa Agriculture Technology Foundation. We work with the Alliance for Science and so on, and with a number of universities and research institutions. So through these South-South partnerships, we are implementing a number of programs. For example, one of the programs we do is study tours and exposure visits. We provide opportunities for regulators, for policymakers, scientists, and other agribusiness stakeholders for study tours. For example, we have done study tours with India. We call it India-Africa Linkage Program. This has been very successful in terms of showcasing the technologies from other countries. Whenever I meet with the senior officials and ministers of agriculture, one of the things they emphasize is they want to learn from smallholder farmers' experience from other countries outside Africa. And I think India has provided a very good platform for sharing that experience. We have also done study tours to Argentina and Brazil and showcase some of the advances in agriculture biotechnology. In terms of the North-South partnerships, Michigan State University, we offer training programs where we have hosted a number of stakeholders from Africa in these programs. Again, the systems are different, maybe the land holdings are different, but problems of farmers are the same, right? So I think this is a good exposure visit for them to see technology in the field and hear about farmers and other perspectives. Our potato breeder, Professor David Douches, is working with Kenya, with Nigeria, and now with Rwanda, and has collaborating on the development of late blight resistant potato varieties here, which are right now in the field here in Rwanda. These are resistant to late blight disease, which is very serious problem. Recently, we have also, when we talk about last mile delivery, extension programs, services to farmers, extension services to farmer becomes very important. We have launched a joint center between Michigan State and Manage in India to build extension capacities of stakeholders from Asia and from Africa. So there are a number of programs implemented in terms of North and South. Now, as you mentioned, what are the benefits? I think these South-South and North-South partnership bring multiple benefits for stakeholders. They provide a first-hand, on-the-ground experience to see the technology, to feel the technology, and to talk to the stakeholders on their experiences. They provide access to technology here, training and information. Also, I think South-South and North-South partnerships provide opportunities for understanding seed systems. It's not only just the technology, but how do we take it to the farmers? Yeah. So understanding the seed system is very important. Also, provide opportunities for technology management and product stewardship. It's not only technology once you have commercialized, but how you manage the technology and all of the stewardship practices. And as I mentioned, extension services for farmers, very important. It's not only the technology, but how you practice the technology in the field, and so on. And I think these South-South and North-South partnerships open doors for joint collaboration on agribusinesses and joint venture. This cross-exchange of ideas is very critical, I think, learning from each other. So these are the overall benefits and one of the slogans we use is in all of these programs is seeing is believing. And now we have gone further and we say eating is believing, when you see it.
Yes.
So these are the benefits that we see coming from these partnerships.
And Professor, thank you so much for that. And I know that if time allows, I would like to have a follow-up question on that, but we'll be learning a little bit more. Please know that we can never do this conversation justice. So even as they come back to the seats, we have networking sessions where we can learn a little bit more from them on a personal level. I want to come to you, Mr. Momar. Now, I had two questions for you, but in the interest of time, I want to prioritize because we've talked a lot about technology, emerging technologies. When I think of farmers, I think of how scared they must be, like most of I, of things like AI, of all these things that can be quite beneficial for them. But I want to hear from you, like moving forward, how can we make sure that partnerships are created that are intentional to onboard these farmers so that, we can create environments that are structured with intentional partnerships to ensure equitable access to seeds, to agitech, to solutions that can reach those minority communities and they can be onboarded and we can all move forward on the same pace and at the same level.
Thank you. Thank you to the organizers for having us here and to the government of Rwanda for hosting this very important conference. Your question is a very big question. I'm not sure I can do it justice, but I'll try. Partnerships are the key to everything. I think one of the things that we like to remind ourselves of and remind our students of at the African Leadership University is that technological solutions or technology is just a tool, right? It's not, the solution is not the technology. You have to identify the problem, you have to be able to really understand the needs of the stakeholders, and technology just comes as a layer, as one of the solution layers and one of the possible solution layers. So when approaching problems, I think it's important, first of all, not to focus on the technology, and my co-panelists already said that. I think the CEO at the beginning said that it's important to have people on the ground. So people move technology. Technology doesn't move by itself. It's not just by opening APIs or sharing data that everything is going to happen magically. And even AI will not be able to do that. So we need to go back to the human aspect of it and to the systems thinking aspect of it. And when it comes to that, I would like to use, in fact, the professor's university as an example. He mentioned that Michigan State University is a land-grant university. I think a lot of people maybe are not so familiar with what those are, but those are one of the models I think that it's important for us to emulate on the African continent, especially in the context of the free trade, continental trade agreement. These were institutions that were established at the end of the 19th century in 1862, 1890. Michigan State is one of them, Cornell is one of them. I happen to have studied at two of them, UC Davis in California and the University of Arizona. And those are institutions that have played a critical role in spreading and democratizing agriculture in the US. We need institutions like that on the continent, and this is the kind of innovation at the educational level and at the research level that the African Leadership University is trying to bring to bridge education, research, but also this extension aspect where we are working directly with farmers. Imagine a world in which farmers are co-researchers, students are agricultural entrepreneurs, yes. and research is really not just measured by the number of papers published, but by the, how much loss has been avoided in terms of crops. That's the approach that we are taking to it, which is very much the approach that land-grant universities were created to spread in the US originally, and we need more institutions like that in the US. So yes, AI is important. Yes, it's important to have technology and to share data, but we have to think about how to break the silos of knowledge and how to be able to spread that knowledge across the continent. And that's going to be by educating the right leadership in food systems, which is what the African Leadership University is trying to do right now. That's by spreading that leadership across the continent, and we are doing that also. We are fortunate that just here in Kigali, we happen to have in our own student body 52 countries out of the 54 represented. So all of these students who are studying here in Kigali at the African Leadership University are going to go back in their countries and apply these methodologies in food systems that they have studied in all over the continent, right? And we are lucky to have partnerships such as the one that we have with AGRF, for instance, which is helping our students really apply their knowledge immediately while they're still students, and not wait to go after school and look for funding to create ventures. They're actually creating the ventures while they are students at ALU, and testing those ventures and being able to pitch them in front of potential VCs, potential funders at forums such as the AFS forum. Those are the kinds of dynamics that we need to be able to strengthen across the continent in our institutions. So that's really, I think, one of the things that we hope is going to evolve over the next few years, is having these centers of innovation in universities that work hand in hand with the farmers and also with the private sector, in order to be able to spread these technologies very quickly and be able to improve yields, be able to improve our food systems.
Thank you so much. I believe intentional education can truly be a catalyst for the change that we want to see. Coming to you, last but not least, your organization is really doing some incredible work. It plays a crucial role when it comes to generating bean-related research and innovations. I'd like you to help us unpack how you are effectively trying to activate this public-private partnership in an intentional way to be able to scale your research to be widely adopted across the continent, for those solutions to be onboarded.
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. It can take a long time, but I try also to be brief, mindful of the time. So first and foremost, the Pan-African Bean Research Alliance is a program that is coordinated by Alliance of Biodiversity and SEAT, and it's focused on bean improvements. But it's not only improvements in terms of productivity through new varieties and seed systems, but it's also improvements in incomes and nutrition for the farmers and the consumers. So at PABRA, who is in short, we have an advantage of being both in technology generation, but also towards the continuum of development. So that means that as we try to develop technologies, and these technologies need to have certain traits that are preferred by the users. So we can call that technology development or trait development. Maybe that is the first mile. So for us to be effective or efficient in the last mile, we need to start with the first mile. Now, the first mile or trait development, all these potential stakeholders, the farmers, the consumers, the processors, those in government, the extensionists, these are brought together to reflect upon what they want to see in these technologies to be developed. As the process continues, all these stakeholders are aware. So when the product is ready for release, it's really not the public sector that is releasing or research, but it is jointly being released based on the intended users. So who are these beneficiaries then? We're talking about different personas. The women. For beans, they are the majority, and we don't have interest in transferring it to the men. We would like the women to continue benefiting. But in addition to the women, we are also seeing the youth coming in strongly. Actually, they need to come in strongly. I think the average age of farmers in many countries is like 55, almost heading to 60. So beyond them, who are going to be the farmers? But we don't want to call them farmers, we want to call them agriculturalists. So we are also trying to get the youth into that space to see agriculture or production activities as a form of livelihood for them to seriously engage. And that's why the speech by our predecessor from the Ministry of Education about school feeding, which we are also collaborating to ensure that there's also skill building, agricultural skill building through that program, because we are focusing on future agriculturalists.
Yes.
So, and we also know that if we have very nice varieties, they're high yielding, they are high in micronutrients, that might not be enough for the farmer, because the farmer will always ask, so what? I'll increase my yield, I'll get 2 tons, 3 tons, so what? We need to ensure that the income which they are interested in is really coming out very strongly.
Yes.
And to be able to do that, we have to bring in other stakeholders. So the use of the multi-stakeholder platform processes ensures that as the farmer takes up the varieties, there is a market outlet for that technology to ensure successful uptake and sustainability. So multi-stakeholder platforms is an approach that the Pan-African Bean Research widely uses, and it has ensured that we are able to get these technologies from development to the intended users.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Now, we have to get into just some closing remarks. We won't be able to have another round of questions, but I want you to ponder on something. And I am going to start with you, Mr. Shavda. What does real actionable partnership look like? Real actionable partnership. We talked about what the farmers want to see. We talked about what we need to make these partnerships work, really. But as we close, in one sentence, I did ask our audience for some action words. I'm asking you for an action sentence. So just 10 seconds to each one of you. What does that look like? If the people in this room forgot everything you just shared with us, if they forgot anything talked about partnership over the past few days, one sentence that should be a sing-along even as we move forward.
It's going to be a long sentence.
It better be short.
But let me give an example as an answer on this one. Right now, we are developing a chili outgrowing scheme with the community and the smallholder farmers in Nyagatare area. What we are providing is everything which they need to mitigate the risk. We provide them all the full input package, including ready, prepared for plantation seedlings. And then we provide all the post-harvest servicing and market for them at
So
the moment which they
basically,
want.
what I'm hearing is whatever you provide has to be holistic.
Yes,
the
it
approach.
has to be on the whole process, all of it, from
Yes.
the beginning to the end,
the
and
end.
to work together with them, really, on this one.
Okay, thank you, Professor.
So I think these partnerships that I was describing, South-South or North-South, I think they not only benefit to policymakers or regulators or scientists, but I think they bring enormous benefits for the farmers. I can just think of 3 ways the farmers benefit from these partnerships. One is access to technologies, Farmers are looking for new innovation, new technologies, and so on. Second is farmers want to have access to best practices, information and training on best practices for sustainable ag. So that's another opportunity. And the third one that we keep repeatedly hearing is access to markets. We heard about Rwandan coffee and Rwandan avocados and so on. So I think access to markets. So I think the problems of agriculture are not simple, they're complex, right? And as it was said, nobody can do it alone.
Yes.
More we can collaborate, more we can partner,
The
everyone
more we
benefits.
can collaborate, the more we can partner. Farmers are hungry, they need access to the training, they need access to the markets. Yes, Mr. Ding.
Thank you.
I go back to the mantra that we repeat to our students, the ethical entrepreneurial leaders that we are trying to bring into agribusiness. And it's that if it doesn't work for women farmers, it doesn't work, period. If it doesn't add value post-harvest, it won't scale, right? And if it's not community built, it won't last. And you definitely want things that work that scale and that will last. So those are the three things that we leave them with, and that I think that we need to remind ourselves of as we are thinking about all of this.
Well said. And last but definitely not least.
Yeah, thank you. So ultimately what we need is demand-driven partnerships around the business cases of these technologies, and we'll be able to have sustainability.
Demand-driven. Thank you so much. Could we give them a round of applause? Thank you, gentlemen. If you could please step forward, would like to take a picture of the first panel. The young people do say if it's not photographed, if it's not framed, it did not happen. So we want to move forward in that faith. Thank you so much. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we now move to our next panel. But I do have a question, and I asked one of the protocol people to be on standby and grab a microphone for me. As we transition to our next panel, I just want to call on one person to use 1 second and give me one sentence of what has stood out for them. And as they organize that, I'll be calling up our panelists for the next panel. It's going to be an incredible exchange. Our second panel, I do see them having a microphone, so I think we're ready. Do I have a hand? Anyone wants to contribute, or do I randomly pick? What has stood out for you in this panel? 60 seconds? 30 seconds? 10 seconds? I think we ran out of time. We'll be calling. I see a hand, but no, we're moving on to our second panel that is all about momentum. We've already have discussed what we know works, and we've seen the success. It's been shared throughout the morning. Now we want to know, how do we scale? How do we scale? That will be the question in this particular session. How do we move beyond the pivot and build systems that can sustain impact for generations to come? Please help me welcome our first panelist to join me on stage, the Managing Director of Africa Food Systems Forum Continental, a Continental Voice, beg your pardon, for Agricultural Policy and Youth Innovation, Mr. Amath Pathisene. Thank you so much for joining us. Ms. Zoe Carl Waithaka, who is the Managing Director and Partner at Boston Consulting Group, is also joining us. She is an expert in AgTech investment frameworks and inclusive business models. They are not alone. Dr. Mel Olwach, who is the Director for strategic partnership at Sasakawa, Africa. He's a veteran when it comes to farming training and technology adoption. A warm welcome to you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. So we'll jump straight into our questions. We'll jump straight into our questions, and starting with you, Mr. Amath. I want to come to you. Could you talk to us about some of the key policy strategies in terms of enabling factors that can help us promote and scale AgTech beyond the pilot phase to drive food systems that are actually truly transformational?
Thank you very much, and I'm very pleased to be here, not running to organize this forum, because usually when you have the Africa Food System Forum, We are more on the logistic, trying to find out the best way to make it work. And I'm very pleased also to see many delegates and also leaders who attend the Africa Food System Forum at this forum. So it's a platform of platforms. So what we want on the continent is to make sure that we keep the momentum every year, and then looking at it also specifically when it comes to technology. And it's great that we have also between this Africa Food System Forum, other smaller forum, more specialized, looking at the details and also to the specifics. So the Africa Food System Forum, as you all know, is the largest one on the continent, which brings more than 6,000 people. And it's not only specialists and leaders on agriculture, but here we are talking about food system. And there is a nuance which we always, and I always repeat, most of us today after this forum, we will go and have lunch, but that food that will come on our table has traveled from the farm to our table, or maybe from another continent to our table. And we are happy to have it, cheap, affordable. But it has been through the lens and the hands of many actors. Number one, it's leaders, policymakers, those who are working on policies enabling the environment to make sure that we have food. Number two, it's research from the farm, like the ideas, the seeds, the improved climate resilience, to make sure that if you grow that seeds, it provides you the productivity. Three, it's farmers. You have post-harvest processors, you have logistics, boat, train. All those things are bringing the food on our table. So it's an entire ecosystem. If one of those are not playing the right role, obviously we won't have the food we will be having on our table later at lunch, sufficient, enough, nutritious, and resilient to any kind of shocks. So that's the ecosystem we are talking about. Now that ecosystem, why we are on the continent always having this issue, it's not enough, we are food insecure, nutrition insecure. It's just because also we are doing so many good models, so many good pilots, but it's not going at scale. And obviously, if you need something to go at scale, there are a certain number of steps to take. Number one is the vertical scaling and horizontal scaling. Farmers in any village, when you go there, it's the horizontal scaling. It's adoption, behavioral change. If they see it's working, so from 1, 10 adopt, 100, 1 million. But to get to that 100, 1 million, obviously, we need to, there was even one leader on the continent always saying, we need to go outside some Mickey Mouse project. Those Mickey Mouse projects, some of them are extremely good, but they need to be known, and then scale resources and actors to take it at. So that behavioral change requires obviously a lot of education and a lot of interaction and trust. So that trust is also policy trust, those who are interacting with farmers to adopt, to change their habit, have to be also trusted. And it requires the entire discussion and communication. When it comes to the vertical one, it's more important because that's where also scale can go bigger. It's from policy enabling. Those policy makers looking at the system, at government, to make sure that it's not compound into the Ministry of Agriculture, but also this technology can go beyond the Ministry of Agriculture, touch Ministry of Technology, go to Ministry of Transport, etc. And by the way, we are a continent of innovators. One of the best innovation in terms of financial inclusion is M-Pesa. And later on, it is called Wave, Orange Money, Momo, whatever. But it's coming from here. So financial inclusion, it brings also farmers to get resources and then do business when they were excluded from the financial. So this is homegrown. Yes. And now it was scaled. It's scaled and others have adopted. Policymakers made sure that this is not only on the financial, but it touched also on agriculture and the other sectors. So we were able to do it. There is also functional system to be looked at when you are doing those policy. It has to go also beyond the ministry and bring other ministries, whether it's nutrition, etc. And then when you bring all those elements, we should be able to start looking at scale from horizontal and vertical. Now, just to conclude, what we are trying to do at the Africa Food System Forum, which is like we need every year to meet. You know, these actors, everyone has his daily work. But when you don't understand who is part of the value chain, and you are not bringing the ecosystem together, some people may not see the end result and the outcome of the work.
Yes.
Sometimes we are not just meeting to meet, but we are meeting to evaluate, to see where we are going, the direction. And it's also a continental direction of our main objective is to feed our people, create jobs for young people,
Yes.
but also make sure that the 70% of young people that is, you know, the backbone of our economy, but also the demographic, they are also playing their role. So we may not be even here talking. They should be also younger people, less than 35 years old, speaking and showing that one. But at the end of the day, we are also part of the ecosystem. I think they are having their discussion, and this discussion has to be integrated, and we make sure that we break silos. And our end result is feeding, creating jobs, inclusion, but building resilient food system across the continent. And I think that's what the platform is bringing. And we all invite you in Dakar from 31st August to 5th September this year to continue this conversation. Any recommendation from here, the theme of this year is African youth, leading collaboration, innovation, and food system transformation on the continent. Thank you.
Yes, very in line with some of the messages that have been echoed throughout. Now, I know you're seeing one empty chair next to me, a gentleman I've been looking around to find, and I can see he's with us. Would like to pause and call to the stage Dr. Telesfor and Bamenye, who is the Director General, Rwanda Agriculture and Animal Resources Development Board. Let us give him a round of applause as he makes his way to this stage. Thank you so much. I will come to you, to the lady on the panel joining me. I love the gender balance on this panel, definitely enjoying it. Could you help us unpack some of the metrics and frameworks that Africa should be prioritizing when it comes to access of agitech that is ready to be scaled beyond pilots? And if you could share just specific examples, especially that have, been successful.
Sure. Well, thank you for the question. And I think BCG is known for its frameworks and known for its roots in private sector. And so, the metrics and the framework that I share will be grounded in that. But I think when we talk about what a pilot is, by its very definition, it is an experiment or a trial in a very controlled set of conditions that should prove out a concept and demonstrate that it can be successful. And I wanted to start with that because when you think about scaling, the conditions change. And so even something that is successful at the start in a pilot may face complexities and challenges as it scales into new geographies, new customers, and so on. And so the framework is two parts with a third: viability, feasibility, and then importantly, what is that strategy or plan for scaling? And that last one I think is quite critical, so I'll touch on that. So on the viability part, I think we've talked about it. Do you have a path to profitability, and have you demonstrated that you can achieve positive unit economics? In many instances, I think ag techs, rightly so, are receiving some amount of donor funding. And I think that's fantastic and very much needed when the public goods to reach last mile often aren't in place and therefore expensive, or add expenses to these companies. But there's got to be a plan in place and a demonstration of how that type of an economic challenge can be overcome to reach that positive economics. Repeat usage and kind of farmer-customer advocacy are farmers engaging with your product over multiple seasons? And you know, obviously with agriculture, things take a long time. And so what you want to see is not just that you've been able to get that positive kind of impact or the revenue and unit economics, but also that your user base is engaging with your product and ideally advocating for it, referring other people. You talked about going from 10 farmers to 10,000 and millions, right? Ideally, that is farmers bringing on their other farmers to the product. That is one of the strongest, I would say, indicators that you have a product that's ready to scale. People are asking for it. So that's on the viability part. On the feasibility part, you know, can this solution operate under conditions outside the trial environment or the pilot environment? And so have you thought through what are those paths to market? We're talking about last mile delivery and how challenging that is. And I think a lot of organizations, for example, have their own agents, or they work through cooperatives. And so if you think about the penetration that you can have as an organization, have you thought about how you could partner with others that are non-competing to get broader penetration by leveraging both of your networks jointly, as opposed to individually setting up your own networks? I think that amplifies, you know, the reach that you have and obviously does it in a more economically sustainable way. So what's that scaling infrastructure that you're putting in place? Could be physical, could be digital. And then I think operational reliability we've talked about. Specifically when we're talking about more of the digital technological solutions, can it operate in a low data, no data environment, low literacy? How does that scale into environments that are culturally different or, you know, in rural areas? And so having, again, a plan for all of those things. So that then leads to this third point. And you talked a little bit about the horizontal and the vertical. When companies are scaling, one way is to take the exact same model and just replicate it. Same customers, same product, more geographies, for example. But in some instances, that may scale differently, adding on more complexity, such as multiple geographies, multiple different types of customer segments being targeted, or even layering on new products and delivery models into that solution. And I think when you do that, there is a higher chance of failure. And so this last part, you know, the question is about what are the metrics to define when an organization is ready to scale. I would just kind of leave the group with this last thought, which is how you scale. Because even if you have proven out the concept in this controlled kind of pilot environment, if you introduce more complexity as you scale it and layer on too many things at once, many of the case study shows globally that that is not a path to success.
Thank you so much for that. Doctor, I'd like to come to you, Dr. Teresford, and then we'll circle back. I want to talk about some of the RAB-led initiatives that have shown scalable impact for Rwanda farmers and some of the lessons that can be learned by the continent. But in the interest of time, if we could pack it in about 60 seconds as we proceed.
Thank you very much, moderator. I think let me summarize in 3 ways. First of all, when a scientist is working with a farmer, and then there is a variety which is giving 5 tons, when a farmer was producing 2 tons, I think the farmer will be asking some questions. The first one will be, where should I get this seed? The second question will be, how and when I can get this seed? The third question will be, at which price? Sometimes he may ask how consistently I can get that seed. So how did we come up with a flagship as Rwanda and the Ministry of Agriculture and the RAB to give answers to those questions? So digitalization has been a flagship. So in 2017, a public and a private partnership flagship has been launched between RAB and one of the private company, which is BK Tech House. And then we have been setting a digitalization system to make sure that we do input subsidy administration in a good way by connecting a big number of suppliers, seed and fertilizer suppliers, by connecting aggregators, connecting the agro dealers, even connecting farmers to make sure that those farmers are using the subsidized inputs, seed and fertilizers. So this platform is using a different aspect. The one is the farmer registration, connecting around 3 million of farmers being registered to make ordering of the inputs, even working with agro dealers so that we can make sure that there are sales of those inputs. So this is a transformative flagship that has been launched, and we still believe that it can be scaled beyond Rwanda to other countries, because it helps even to navigate, to have the accountability and the traceability of the input system, where we can even use it for other purposes. So I still believe that the Smart Nkunganire system, it is a very good flagship, and it can be extended to other continent, to other countries for the continent.
Thank you so much.
So I think I did like one.
Yes, it does deserve a round of applause. And if you're not familiar with that, I know Doctor is going to stick around. Please reach out to him and learn more. And Dr. Mel, you will be bringing this home for us. Can you talk to us about some of the extension methods and capacity building approaches? We heard about farmers want this, they need that capacity building that can be effective for scaling these solutions and in a way that they can be adopted among these smallholder farmers.
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity. And we really appreciate being here today to be able to share together what we have. I come from Sasakawa Africa Association. We are an organization who specializes in delivery of technologies. We take it up from where the science has stopped. We are the last mile guys. We are the grassroots with the farmers. We understand their problems. We share with them their problems, and everything we do with them is need-based and demand-driven. Now, scaling is not an easy task. It's all a matter of adoption, and they have to keep that sustainability. And smallholder farmers are people who look at things from a different viewpoints. So we use a deliberate combination of different extension methodologies, capacity building approaches, and we create an enabling environment for farmers to be able to adopt some of these technologies. So one of the key areas which we use is a farmer-centric and context-specific extension models. Sounds like a big terminology, but I'll give you a story. We were once in Malawi many years back, and we were showcasing all these beautiful technologies which we thought were game changers, and we invited all these farmers to a field day, we showcased all these, and afterwards we went under a tree and we were eating very nice food, and we left the farmers, they're all looking at us while we're eating, They felt disrespected, We have to engage them in a way that they have to lead from the front and we come from behind. We learn a lot from these farmers, I'll tell you this. And if we bring this top-down approach, thinking that our technologies are the best, they just adopt it, 70% of the time those technologies are not adopted. So we engage them in a participatory approach where we'll bring in validation research, testing all these technologies together with them to see what works and what does not work. And trust me, a lot of them fall by the wayside because they don't meet the context-specific situation of these farmers. That's extremely key. Second area is we have championed quite a number of extension models or approaches, which we have narrowed down to about 6, which also applies to other organizations. But what we have learned over time is to integrate these models and deliver them, use them as a delivery mechanism to be able to address the entire agriculture value chain. A lot of organizations engage in one value chain. You know, you go into marketing and you think, you know, that you're solving the farmers' problems when they don't have nothing to market. All they've been engaged in farming for food security. There's no surplus. That was not solved. Others engage in, at the beginning, solving farmers' productivity, and then they forget that there are other value chains which determine whether these farmers will succeed in everything that they do. We address the entire value chain. Of late, we have brought in the concept of farming as a business enterprise, which a lot of people forget, that these farmers need income. And we are trying to address the critical issue that we have in Africa of where we don't have enough extension agents. The governments have never really prioritized hiring enough extension personnel to be able to help bring in all these technologies at the grassroots level. So there's a big gap. The ratio is about 1 to 5,000 in Africa, 1 extension personnel to 5,000 farmers, when the world recommended ratio is about 1 to 500. So we've brought in all these approaches, like bringing in commercial-based, community-based facilitators, and private service provision models, where we've introduced enterprises at the rural level and brought in the youth, women, and people with disabilities to run this, to bring jobs at the rural level to keep them there.
Yes,
Youths
Doctor,
have the power of innovation.
We need to wrap up.
Okay.
So if you could summarize.
So just to summarize, and this is what I wanted to end up with. A few years ago, we decided to harness or bring in what we call an e-extension a model for Africa, an e-extension platform. So we sought to embrace and harness different digital tools to use in the last mile delivery. Integration of digital tools is very important. And we learned a very good lesson, that a lot of these digital tools that you see are being bandied all over, which we see in every forum, you know, to be honest, they don't work. And 2 years ago, there was a big study which identified about 5,000 digital applications which have been developed and being used in Africa, but they found that actually only 0.5%, which is 25%, 25 is the only ones which are being used, you know. It's time to rethink our strategy. And the reason why a lot of these digital tools have failed is because they don't address the entire agriculture value chain. You can't put 5, 6, 7 tools in a farmer's hand, one for weather, one for markets, one for information. It doesn't work. It needs to be all integrated and given to a farmer as one tool to be able to address all their needs. That is what we are trying to do, and that is why we are here to develop these partnerships, to work with whole sets of teams, to bring all this into the hands of farmers. And we're already doing that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So an all-in-one tool is needed. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, this is not a conversation, as I said earlier, that we can effectively have in under 1 hour, but the conversation continues, so please do stay around, network. The lovely gentleman and lady will be here to answer any questions, and you can learn more. And Mr. Amath is here, so you need to sign up for the forum. We hope to see you in Senegal. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me for this panel. Thank you for your time. Would like to have a photo with you so that we can remember this dialogue. Our media team, if we could move along, we're running behind schedule. So much that we can take from that conversation. And to move us forward, please, with a warm round of applause, help me welcome Dr. Oliver Kamana, the Permanent Secretary of Rwanda's Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources. He will be sharing the path forward.
Your Excellency, President, good luck, Jonathan, distinguished guests, all protocols observed. While groundbreaking and well-crafted agtech solutions hold immense potential, the consistent supply and tailored bundling of these technologies to productive farming continue to represent a significant systemic challenge. This crucial session has directly addressed some of these last-mile complexities, investigating holistic strategies for resilient seed systems development, effective and inclusive marketing and distribution mechanisms, and enhancing the overall competitiveness and accessibility of transformative technologies for all stakeholders within the agricultural value chain. Esteemed panelists have analyzed the persistent barriers hindering access in rural communities and explore how strategic multi-sectorial partnerships empowered by cutting-edge technological advancements in logistics and information flow can revolutionize delivery. We need to reach this last mile, as Pate was mentioning, by integrating both horizontal and vertical scales. This decision has also ignited collaborative action among diverse stakeholders, not only to be limited to agriculture, but we need also to embrace all other stakeholders, especially the IT area, in order to foster improved access to essential agtech solutions and ultimately driving significant advancements in agricultural productivity in order to have the whole ecosystems made sustainable. Let's continue to make these discussions realities. I thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Could we appreciate him just once more? Thank you so much for that powerful path forward. Now, I would like to invite you to please stay in your seats. We have the launch of the Alliance for Cowpea Improvement in Africa that will be led by GATES AG1. And yes, they're going to be taking us through this particular session. I'd like you to please join your hands and help me welcome Kira Everhart Valentin, who is the Alliance Manager for Cowpea at GATES AG1.
Audio, there we are. Thank you very much. Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to join you today. Thank you to AATF. Thank you to Dr. Keningiri for the chance to be a part of this very exciting event. My name is Kira Everhart Valentin. I am with GATES Agricultural Innovations, also known as GATES AG1. And we are working to accelerate renewable, affordable, and scalable crop innovations to reach and benefit smallholder farmers in sub-Saharan Africa and in South Asia. It's truly an honor to be joining you all today in this beautiful venue and to be able to tell you about this exciting initiative that we've recently launched. It's an initiative that depends on collaboration, on acceleration and responsiveness to develop cutting-edge solutions targeted at the greatest challenges faced by West African cowpea farmers. But first, I'd like to take you on a journey of one of Africa's most important staple crops. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. As many in the room already know, cowpea is central to the lives of approximately 200 million Africans. It provides both an affordable and a reliable source of protein and nutrition, and it also serves as an important source of income to countless small-scale farmers working to support their families. Cowpea is indigenous to Africa. It's naturally soil enriching, and it's also a very important climate resilient crop. And it's thanks to its extensive presence throughout the continent, but especially in West Africa, that cowpea is a key ingredient to many local dishes, and it's also deeply ingrained in parts of cultures and traditions. However, cowpea also faces a very significant threat: insects. It's that vulnerability to insects that makes cowpea a very challenging crop to produce. Farmers can lose up to 90% of their production to these pests, whether it be through attacks on the fields or through damage in storage after harvest. Historically, farmers have had rather limited options for controlling these pests, and very often they have to apply expensive chemical pesticides to keep the insects at bay. To be effective, these chemical applications may have to occur multiple times in a growing season. And if farmers want to prevent insects from further damaging and destroying the cowpea while it sits in storage, then more pesticides are often even necessary when the beans are being cleaned and bagged. It's this significant use of pesticides for cowpea production that is not only expensive and time and labor consuming, but it presents both health and environmental risks to the farmers, to their families, and to the consumers and end users. As for the farmers that cannot afford pesticides or other insect control methods, then the resulting losses from the field and storage pests can be truly devastating. And so it was with these challenges in mind that the Alliance for Cowpea Improvement in Africa, or ACEA, was formed. ACEA has as a mission to develop safe, affordable, and environmentally sustainable solutions to combat cowpea insect pests. It is an Africa-focused agricultural research partnership that embraces the many challenges and opportunities revolving around cowpea production and consumption. So the Alliance is made up of a global community of cowpea experts from 6 institutions across 3 continents. Our partners include Ghana's Savannah Agricultural Research Institute under the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR SARI, Nigeria's Institute for Agricultural Research, IAR, the Africa Agricultural Technology Foundation, AATF, Australia's National Science Agency, the Commonwealth Scientific and Industrial Research Organization, or CSIRO, the Donald Danforth Plant Science Center in the United States, and Gates Ag 1. ACEA's aim for rapid progress and acceleration is first and foremost made possible by a highly engaged, collaborative process in which the Alliance partners are consulting with one another regularly. They're drawing on the team's diversity of deep expertise, experience, and knowledge in everything that they do. We have several working groups and committees that tackle technical challenges and the advancements of technologies towards the development of farmer-responsive products. A core team made up of representatives from each of those Alliance partners that I just named governs our mission, our priorities, and our decisions. And so it's through this approach that the teams are able to identify the most promising opportunities and then align together to take those opportunities to tangible solutions to smallholder challenges. So in just a few minutes, I'm going to be joined on the stage by a few of our Alliance members who are going to share more about their own vision and on collaboration, on acceleration, and on barriers to the development and the scaling of technologies and innovations. But first, I would like to share just a little bit about ACEA's mission and the fantastic team that's making it possible.
So I'm really excited about the research program under ACEA. We're tackling 2 of the most important problems right off the bat. We're tackling in-season pest protection, that's protection from the pod borer. We're also tackling an almost even more important and significant problem, which is the storage problem. So damage by the cowpea weevil that can destroy 60 to 90% of harvested cowpeas.
Nutritionally, cowpea is really important for several reasons. The first one is because it's packed with protein. So about 30% of the cowpea's protein is the main source of protein for many people, especially in areas where meat is very scarce. Also, it has other benefits. For example, it has vitamins, iron, fiber. It's really nutritious and it's like a complete food. It's a real superfood.
So cowpea is finally getting the attention it deserves because this research has come at the right time to help farmers solve their insect problem. If not all the insects, the most important ones.
We have a net deficit as far as cowpea consumption is concerned. So we have to make up for the use of importations to actually cater for the deficit that we face because our farmers are never actually able to produce sufficient quantities to feed the people. Then for the few farmers who try to cultivate the crop, they go through excessive application of insecticides just to protect the crop, and that has environmental effect. It also has effect on their health. That is why we get excited about trying to make sure that households can have sufficient quantities of these grains, and who knows, we may eventually become a net exporter once we attain our goals.
So what makes the ACEA project so rewarding for me, and I'm sure for others, it's the teamwork. The team here at the Danforth Center in the Product Development Lab, it's our teammates that work in country in Ghana and in Nigeria, and of course, the Gates Agricultural Innovations Organization that's providing thought leadership and also support for the project. And what have we accomplished? We've made a number of different transgenic cowpea lines that have got resistance both to the Maruca pod borer and to the cowpea weevil. We've had those materials tested in the field in Nigeria and in Ghana. We've completed post-harvest storage studies with these new lines showing that they are resistant to damage from the weevil. And here we are entering our second year of field trials and looking forward to making regulatory submissions in the very near future. That's a tremendous amount of progress, and it's really all due to the team, to the members here and elsewhere who have really committed to the project, really committed to the ideal of producing new varieties that are really going to benefit smallholder farmers in West Africa.
Cowpea has a very special significance in my life and my career because it represents to me a shifting from basic science to science with impact and delivery. It represents an opportunity to help people and to apply our skills in food security.
I have been cultivating cowpea with my parents since I can remember the time I was born. We can't farm without cowpea on our fields. Cowpea is my life.
So I would like to welcome to the stage three of our ACEA team members and our panelists for today. We have Dr. Jean-Baptiste Tinegre, who is a plant beater and cowpea project manager at AATF. We have Professor Mohamed Lawan Umar, a cowpea breeder with the Institute for Agriculture Research in Nigeria. And we have Francis Onyekachi, manager of product stewardship and quality with AATF. Thank you to the three of you for being here and to share with us today. So, Dr. Tinegre, in your role as the AATF representative for West Africa and also as a member of the ACEA core team, I'm hoping that you can talk to us more about collaborative approaches for farmer-relevant solutions. More specifically, in your opinion, how can private and multi-sector partnerships such as ACEA help to effectively address farmer production challenges in the cowpea value chain, and in what ways should examples of successful collaboration inform future initiatives? But hold on just a moment.
Thank you for the opportunity. I will go straight to the point. Cowpea value chain is challenged by a certain number of constraints that hinder production And among the constraints that hinder cowpea value chain, we have insect pressures. Insect pressure are the top constraint in cowpea production. And insects damage cowpea from planting to the storage stage. We also have low mechanization that reduced farmers' mechanization along field operation that reduce farmers' efficacy in the field. And we also have low access to inputs, and the inputs include seed, fertilizer, but also pesticide. And about seed, you need to know that the low access to seed is about getting seed available in the close vicinity of farmers, but also their affordability. And we also have other constraints that are good, low compliance to good agricultural practices, and also low capacity for processing that reduce and limit the market of cowpea in general. So these are systemic issues that no single actor can address alone. That's why multi-sector partnerships are required to solve these issues. So now coming to how can multi-sector partnership such as ACEA address production and commercialization challenges. I would say that to address the production and commercialization challenges, we think that ACEA can process as follows. First of all, we think that it's vital to involve NARS partners. And NARS partners in the intervention country of ACEA project, like Ghana with SARI, Nigeria with IAR, can be helpful to help ACEA achieve its objectives. But also, regarding the aspect of the research, we think that farmers, NARS partners, and researchers need to work hands in hands so that they can deliver products that are meeting farmers' need, but also the market preference. That's very important. A second important point we think it's crucial for Asia to look at is to involve regulatory partners such as NBMA in Nigeria and NBA in Ghana, so that we ensure we comply with regulatory requirement. And we need also to have seed regulators like NASC, the National Agricultural Seed Council, regulating the certification of seed in those target countries. And another important point I think it's important to look at is to ensure we promote public-private partnership. Public-private partnership is important, and it will be essential to include certified seed partners. Certified seed partners play the role in multiplying seed and also delivering them to farmers. And these seed enterprises need to be business-driven so that the seed production system is sustainable. That's very important. They need also to have, aside of this, the support of agro-dealers and also NGOs that can help delivery seed to farmers. That's very important. And at that level also, it's important that the NARS and other international partners support the capacity building of those seed enterprises so that they can deliver. So by doing so, I think the multi-sector partnership can be successful and enable delivering seed to farmers, but also with a significant impact. So to end my intervention, other important partners can be looked at that include helping seed enterprises to have more access to finance so that they can face some issues related to paying back seed from outgrowers, but also help them have like revolving funds. Those are issues that most seed enterprises are facing in the field. And lastly, it's important also to start looking at how the production can be, we can have insurance of production so that farmers, seed enterprises, will not end up not having anything to propose when they face like floods and droughts during rainy season. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Teneg, for reminding us of the complexities of innovation delivery and the importance of ensuring that actors are connected all the way up and down the value chain. Dr. Umar, Professor Umar, can you please tell us, as a cowpea breeder, during your time at IAR, as someone who has spent his career creating new varieties and genetically based solutions for Nigerian smallholder farmers, I'd like for you to share with us your thoughts on the impacts of acceleration, especially when we're talking about advancing cutting-edge technologies for cowpea. So more specifically, can you talk to us about what role innovation acceleration plays in your research and breeding work with ACEA, and how do you foresee this approach impacting not only current cowpea trait development, but also the future of targeting other farmer-preferred solutions?
Thank you very much. I would like to appreciate the ACAT organizers for giving me the opportunity to participate in this very important gathering. The cowpea is a very important crop in the continent, that's African continent, and also Nigeria in particular. So the Institute has been working on cowpea improvement for a very long time, and we're able to develop some varieties, or many varieties, and also commercialize our little farmers, in the hands of farmers. But there are some traits that are difficult to improve because of so many things. So what makes ACEA different in terms of the research approach is that, first of all, they are targeting a game-changing traits. Game-changing trait in the sense that it's a trait that the end users are in the dire needs of those traits. Unfortunately, from the scientists, there's difficult to improve on that crop due to so many challenges. One can be either due to either non-availability of the source of resistance or the non-amenability to crossability to make progress on that trait. So this is a game-changing trait that the ACEA now started targeting those game-changing traits, like brookage resistance. Brookage resistance is in their needs. Unfortunately, you can boldly say that in the whole world, there is no known coffee variety that was developed or released to end users that have resistance to brookage in the world. You can boldly say that. Why is that so? Despite the importance of the traits. In Nigeria, we can say that the trait is, it causes a lot of damage to us. For example, people use harmful chemicals to store their coffee. And there was a time the Nigerian coffee was banned in the international market. And when it was banned, there was a negotiation trying to lift the ban. Then there was an incidence of what? Incidence of some people eat coffee that was protected with harmful chemical when in store. And there was it caused a lot of death to some people. So that also caused a setback also in the trying to lift the ban in the coffee in Nigeria. So what are the strategies that ACEA came up to at least to try to solve the problem of those game-changing traits that are difficult to improve? one of the strategies is that the ASEA tried to look at, identify the strategic implementing partners across the globe, and also those partners that have a kind of recognitions, both at the national and international level. And also they believe that those can deliver based on the research output and also the research experience. And secondly, they were quickly try to assess, the institutional capacity in terms of CDC, the strengths and the weaknesses. So they identify the gap, what makes the research to be slow, what are the challenges. Then they quickly try to fill in the gap by what? By institutional infrastructural institutional capacity development. And they quickly move to what? To human capacity development. Because if there's facilities and there's no technical know-how, the personnel cannot work on the facilities to make a significant progress. So they quickly also develop the capacities of the implementing partners to have a technical know-how and to adopt those facilities and then use it. This makes at least quick adoption of the modern cutting-edge technologies and quickly implement it in our own domain. So having these three strategies, identify the weaknesses and also fill in the gap, and also the human capacity also train them, and then the scientists also that are implementing this quickly adopt the cutting-edge technologies. So looking at these three, because these strategies, we're able to do, to make progress in our own research. This has really transformed or accelerated the research in our own research institute, or all the partners institute. By what? At least increase what? Accelerate the adoption of the what? Cutting-edge technologies, and also increase the efficiency of our own research, as also increase the precision in data collection, as well as data quality that we're also generating. And also increases the precision in whatever we're doing. This, in totality, you can say that it has increased the genetic gain in terms of the research output of those our partners.
Professor Tamar, yes.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm so sorry to interrupt, but we are beginning to run a little short on time. So very quickly, we're going to pass directly to Francis. So Francis, you've worked closely in the scaling and commercialization of CalPi technologies during your time with AATF. And based on your experiences, what are the most effective commercialization strategies for scaling and delivering new CalPi innovations? What are the key challenges that must be addressed to really maximize accessibility to farmers? What are those things that we need to keep in mind?
Okay, thank you very much, Kira. First of all, I would like to start by saying that CalPi is a commercial crop, a commercial food crop in West and Central Africa. And then when we talk about CalPi in West and Central Africa, for those who are from there, we are talking about beans, which is very delicious, and I ate it, and we all enjoy it. So, Nigeria is the largest producer of CalPi, and Nigeria produces an average of 3.6 million metric tons annually of CalPi. And then, but Nigeria also imports a lot of CalPi within the region. So this means there's a lot of regional trade on CalPi in the West and Central African region. So, meaning that there's high consumption, there's production, there's also trade. And then the per capita consumption in Nigeria is about 23 kg per annum, which shows how important CalPi is in the region. Now, one would think that because of the volume of production, volume of trade, volume of consumption of the product, that the system of commercialization would have been formal. It should have metamorphosized into a formal system of formal seed system. But then that is not the case, because it has been largely in the hands of, within the informal seed system, which makes it very challenging to commercialize new varieties that have some desirable traits. So that has been the challenge, to move it from that informal system to the formal system. When I say the informal system, it's just about farmers growing the beans or the cowpea, and then saving the cowpea grains and replanting grains. So that has been the system. Imagine a situation whereby farmers are planting seeds. And for farmers to be able to plant seeds, it means we need a formal seed system. Now, the seed systems in the area, is formalizing, because we have, when we talk about the formal seed system, we mean that there is a regulatory and institutional capacity which exists in most of the countries. We also mean there's a research system which include the national research systems, which also exist. And from the research system, you get to the hands of the seed producers who produce early generation seeds and certified seeds. They also exist. And recently, we have seen proliferation of SME seed companies producing different kinds of seeds everywhere. But then when you look at their portfolio of seed production, these seed companies have, mastered the art of diversifying their sources of income. So cowpea becomes at the base of, their priority. And so production of cowpea by these formal seed systems becomes very limited. And of course, from the seed companies, the product can go to the agro dealers who will sell to farmers, and farmers can also buy directly from the seed companies. And so farmers are active players in the seed system. And then there's also extension on the other side. So commercializing this product means catalyzing every aspect of this cowpea delivery value chain to make it robust, to be able to produce, predict, production, and make sure that it is consistent. So basically, that is what is required for the commercialization of cowpea. But from our experience, we see that the commercialization right now is in the hands of the informal system. And there are traditional players who have been in this system for a very long time. Can we find a way to integrate these traditional players along the value chain into the formal sector so that we can strengthen the commercialization? This is where the major task is, and this is where the alliance need to focus on to be able to practically and really commercialize to scale, and to make sure that the consumers like me have access to the product. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francis. And thank you, Dr. Dr. Tinegre and Professor Umar. I actually would like now to welcome a special guest to the stage. And so if we can please be joined by the Honorable Deputy Minister of Education, Dr. Clement Abbas Apak, is going to offer some reflecting remarks as we come to a close.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. And I must say that I made a request to be invited. Today is my birthday, actually. So, how appropriate. I never expected to be here today, and neither did I expect to hear a whole panel conversation and discussion on a legume, cowpea, that we call in Ghana beans, at this international conference. My presence here is to testify, both as a Ghanaian, a politician, and somebody who has grown up my whole life eating and enjoying cowpea in all forms that you can imagine. So thank you for the good work that you are doing. anyone who has visited Ghana can testify that from the smallest village where I come from, in the Upper East region, known as Doninga, to our national capital, there is no market on any day that you would visit and not find cowpea being sold either in a raw state or transformed into one of many tasty and nutritious dishes. As a Bulsa man from the northern part of Ghana, cowpea has become an integral part of my tradition and culture. If we are not using it to make the bean cake or cowpea cake that we call kose, we are using it to make a sauce or a soup to eat with our tizet. Or we are using it to prepare what we call tubani. Or in the national capital, we are using it to prepare what we call gari and beans, which has become a national delicacy, popularly known as gobe in Ghana. We have a school feeding program for both primary and secondary. And for the secondary system, we are looking at a student population of about 1.4 million to 1.5 million students. And it is compulsory. It is part of the menu. And I speak to this as a minister, Deputy Minister for Education, that every public secondary school in the Republic of Ghana must have cowpea on the menu to be fed to the students at least once a week. For good reason, because it is a source of protein, it is healthy, and it is readily available. But as the panelists have indicated, and that is my worry, we are facing the challenge of excessive use of pesticides. And I think that is because the improved varieties have not reached all the farmers. So I would like to entreat the researchers and your good selves who have done the work to identify an improved variety that is pest resistant. Ensure that it gets to the entire population, because the excessive use of pesticides is beginning to have a negative effect on the environment. So I want to thank all of you, and I invite all of you here that when you go to Ghana, don't be shy to ask for gobe. You would enjoy it. May God bless all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Apak, for those very inspirational words. And thanks to all of you here at ACAT for providing us the opportunity today to explore ASEA and its driving mission of accelerating the development and the release of farmer-centric solutions to some of the most difficult challenges in cowpea production today. As our partnership progresses, ASEA will continue to look for guidance from many more actors in the value chain: national crop research organizations, community leaders, farmers, local seed producers, extension agents, food sellers, and others. Our hope is that this work will lead to many new opportunities for private sector engagement, increased farmer and consumer demand, and a more reliable supply of high-quality, safe cowpeas flowing from farm to market. And so we look forward to continuing to share our progress with the ACAT community. And you can learn more about the work at allianceforcowpea.org or by following our LinkedIn pages of any of the Alliance partners, including Gates Ag 1. I will have colleagues that will be at the back of the room to provide some more information to those of you who are interested as you depart today. And simply want to thank you again for joining us today and wish you a wonderful afternoon.
Special thanks. Thank you so much. Could we appreciate them once more? Such an impactful way to end our morning together. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a joy moderating this session, but before I let you go, we have a few announcements to share with you. And the first one is actually quite exciting. We do have some giveaway, something that is quite exciting from RICA. It is a unique chance to explore Rwanda's leading agricultural innovation hub and to engage with hands-on learning environment that is shaping the future of conservation agriculture. It is an opportunity to tour RICA's facilities, and when you're there, there's some special opportunity to even have some good lunch that will probably involve some of our best meals that you can enjoy from our great nation. It is an opportunity for 29 delegates to visit RICA. So you can sign up. We have a way for you to be able to do that. Those of you who don't know where RICA is, it is located in Bugesera district. It's only about 1 hour and 30 minutes away from Kigali. And of course, the drive there is quite scenic. So these 29 delegates will be accommodated on a first come, first serve basis. So we encourage you to please register for this and sign up. The person you should be looking for that is coordinating this is Muthoni Gatura. And I don't know if Muthoni is in the room. You could wave to us. Yes. Okay. I see someone waving at the back, but please look out for them. And if you don't see them here, you can just head straight to the desk in the foyer 1A. By 2 p.m. today, you should be able to sign up. Again, the slots are only 29. It's a very enriching experience, so I hope that you sign up for that. And we do have lunch for you at the Auditorium Club, Ladder Restaurant in the main hotel. And Fellini, yesterday the moderator called it the award-winning restaurant. So we hope that you stay with us. We want to feed you. We have also some sessions that are coming up in the afternoon, so do not run away. Please stay around. We have a technical interactive panel, that is panel 4, that will be on licensing and IP access to proprietary traits, and that will be in MH3 and 4. We have the youth dialogues that are leveraging AgTech for sustainable agriculture, that will be in AD12. And we also do have the private sector dialogues that will be hinged on commercialization and scaling of climate smart and modern AgTech to the last mile in AD10. And also later on in the afternoon, we will be ending strong. We do have a demo session that will be happening, and this we hope that you can join. It will be in MH3 and MH4. This will be at 4:30 p.m. And it is a side event that is happening today. The session will be on fostering functional seed systems for delivery of the next gen ag innovations in Africa. And the event will spotlight the transformational work being done by the TAT program that's funded by the African Development Bank and partners to foster seed systems across the continent and also to boost food and nutritional security. Please do not miss the opportunity. There's a lot that will be discussed there. Now, we do have lunch for you, but we request that you don't run away. Earlier today, when I asked that we go over and greet somebody, there was a lot of excitement, and I loved seeing that. Let's not let the conversations that happened here stay here. Let's continue the conversation. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow for our closing session. Loads of insightful dialogues will be taking place here. But again, let's keep the conversation going. I am Isabel Masozera. It has been an absolute delight spending time with you this morning. Yes, we hope you enjoy your lunch, bon appetit, and you make Rwanda your second home. We hope you felt at home so far. I should have started with that. We hope you have felt at home so far, and we'll see you tomorrow.